Hey, it's Tanika Martin Green. You are listening to the best podcast, Creech Questions.
Hey everybody out there, welcome back to Creech Questions. I am your host, CJ Creech. In the background is Darrell and Louise with the Creech Questions theme song, East Virginia. You can find out more about their music at darrelllouise.ch. We are now in episode 42, and we've got a great episode lined up for you today. I will be discussing the 6th episode of the 6th season of The Walking Dead, and I'll also be interviewing Sean Clark. As usual, before we get into everything else, let's go ahead and do our shoutouts.
You give me a gift, bam, thank you note. You invite me somewhere, pow, RSVP. You do me a favor, wham, favor returned. Do not test my politeness.
My first shoutout is kind of something that I shouted out to last week as well, but it's to my friend Jordan Woods Robinson. He plays Eric on The Walking Dead. Now, he just launched a new membership program for SOS Studio. Like I was saying last week, it actually came out last week. It's only $5 a month to sign up. However, he's offering the first month completely free. If you are out there and you have either a podcast or maybe you make web series or something that requires music, you know, it can be expensive trying to secure music for you. And with his new membership, you can collaborate with all other artists around the world and create some music that is yours that you can use. For $5 a month, that's a really good deal. So I definitely think you should check it out. It's at sosstudio.co, and you sign up, and once again, you get the first month free, so you can try it out and find out, you know, really if it works for you. And honestly, it should work for you. It's pretty amazing. I've tinkered around with it a little bit myself, and we'll be using it a lot more often. The more we have time to mess with it, and we're definitely going to be producing some great stuff out of it. So once again, make sure you definitely check that out. The next shout out is to our Walking Dead wrap-up co-host, Alyssa Mullen. Unfortunately, she's not going to be able to join us for the wrap-up today due to some scheduling issues. It happens sometimes being a parent. But we just want to give a shout out to her. We're still going through all the footage from Walker Stalker Con Atlanta. And she was involved with some hilarious footage that we released earlier. Last week we mentioned it on the podcast. And just I've been extremely blessed to have a great co-host for the wrap-up like her, especially coming from actually The Walking Dead and having a Walker, and not only a Walker, but a fan of the show. So it's been a really great time. Can't wait to talk with her. She will be back next week as normal, which kind of leads us to our next thing. I wouldn't really consider this a shout-out, but next week we are going to have a special Tuesday episode of Creech Questions. I know we've been coming out with episodes every Monday. That's going to change a little bit next week because we have an amazing episode lined up that it's going to take a little bit longer to do than normal to line everything up. Tomorrow we are recording. I hinted at it last week that we were recording a new podcast. Tomorrow night we are recording with James Frazier of the Walker Stalkers. I had Eric Nordiff on a little over a year ago, and now we've come full circle, and I have the other half of the Walker Stalkers on tomorrow, so we'll be recording that, which will make it onto the podcast next week. Also next week, it's the last episode before the season finale of The Walking Dead, and we are celebrating it in style. Me and Alyssa will be co-hosting the Walking Dead wrap-up segment, but we'll also have special guest Jordan Woods Robinson, Eric from The Walking Dead, to discuss it with us. This is the first time we've had any actors to discuss the show with us on the Walking Dead wrap-up, so it's definitely a first, and we're super stoked. We might fingers crossed, it might become a regular thing. So we'll just have to wait and see. Now, I'm hoping to get an official date on Dave Sheridan's start with us. We gotta go through his busy schedule and my schedule to arrange a time to start doing this podcast together. I'm expecting during the transition, and it'll probably be no later than January is when he's going to be on. We're going to try to bring him on a couple of times in the coming weeks to actually have his, to let him get used to the whole podcast feel. Also, we're going to start taking some live calls during the recordings of these. Just got to work out a couple of kinks, I guess you could say, and we're definitely going to be on the road to almost a live show. We're going to start doing live call-ins with the celebrity interviews. I'm going to start having actual live fan questions, like you heard, or you're going to hear in this week's podcast, at interviews that we do in person as opposed to over the phone. So there's, like I said last week, there's a lot of things that are in transition right now. Creech Questions is shaping up to be wildly different from anything that's it's ever been before, but in a good different. Now, I think that's going to wrap it up for the shout-outs, so let's go ahead and get into the Walking Dead wrap-up.
All connected. You show up, and now 3 of us are gone.
Glad you bring us here.
Alright, everybody, welcome to the Walking Dead wrap-up. We are reviewing episode 6 of The Walking Dead, season 6, titled Always Accountable. And like I said last week, I really wasn't looking forward to this episode, and if I can be completely honest with everybody, I didn't even watch this episode live. And this is the first episode I've purposefully missed, not considering other times where maybe I had to work or I had other plans, I had to be somewhere. I actually purposefully missed this episode. I caught up with it this morning. And it stems from the whole, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but the whole Darrell Dixon character, I'm not digging anymore. Like I said, once again, I love Norman, but I hate Darrell. Anybody who watches wrestling, I don't know if we have any wrestling fans out there, but I compare Darrell Dixon to basically he's the Walking Dead's John Cena. He's like a Superman. And, it didn't intrigue me enough to want to watch this episode live, but I wound up eventually watching it today, and I must say, while I felt that there was still way too much Darrell in this episode, it wasn't that bad of an episode. Of all the episodes, I would definitely consider this one more than episode 4 with Morgan, or even the last episode where they were covering what was going on in Alexandria. I feel like this was probably a filler episode more than anything. But there was still, amongst the nothing that happened, there was still some semi big moments, and we're definitely going to talk about those. First things first, it started off pretty crazy. Within 5 minutes there was a shootout. Not even 5 minutes, probably a minute into it, there was a massive shootout that led to a bunch of people dead. Of course, none of our main cast. And then that's all the split. Now, I have to say, it seems like between Darrell and Abraham and Sasha, it seems like while they were all going through their own little problems, especially Sasha and Abraham, it does seem like, once again, it was more filler content than anything. But in the end, I think this episode, in the broader scheme of things, will probably be remembered as a bigger episode once other things come to light. Because while it seems like nothing inconsequential happened this episode, and as of right now, it really hasn't, I feel like the ramifications of this episode is what's going to set up the second half of the season 6. When you have this guy who was holding Darrell hostage, who many are going on and on about thinking it's Dwight, and it could very well be Dwight. It seems like we've seen our official first introduction into the comic-based saviors, and obviously with Negan being officially announced now, if you've for some reason have missed the news that was all over Twitter and Facebook all last week, we do have official Negan casting in Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who was an amazing actor. I loved him as the comedian in Watchmen. And even in his tiny role as the dad in the show Weeds, he's just a really talented actor, and I think he's going to kill it. No pun intended. But I feel like the whole story that they were telling right now for this episode isn't going to mean much until the second half, when this episode's probably going to be looked back on as, wow, they hinted at a lot of stuff. Obviously, Darrell losing his bike and crossbow is a pretty big thing. Not the bike so much. I mean, he's already lost, 2 or 3 by this point. But the crossbow, which has led to, again, the speculation that this character that took it is Dwight, since Dwight was from the comics and had a crossbow. And in the show, when Darrell's starting to come back to consciousness, you can hear him talking about how he knows how to use it. But throughout his interactions with, we'll just call him Dwight for now, it seems like Darrell was still trying to fulfill that job role of recruiter. I mean, even after being attacked and held hostage, getting away, he comes back and helps them, which is a huge sign of, the changes in Darrell that have been happening since season 1. Because he's a completely different character at this point. But I still have to question why he would even bother at that point. Because that's still, Darrell, I don't know. I've seen him take chances on people. But I still don't believe that he, character-wise, would have really have taken that chance. But he asked Rick's questions and seeing if they would be a good fit, and was getting ready to tell him about Alexandria when they were like, no, just give me your crossbow and your bike and have a good day. Obviously, Darrell didn't die. Not like they teased that or anything, but I wasn't worried at any point when they had him at gunpoint or anything that he was going to die, because once again, Super Darrell doesn't die. Hopefully that'll change one day. But for now, I'm going to go with that plan. Sasha and Abraham, though, it seemed like they really bonded over this. I mean, when you think that Sasha went crazy last season, she seemed to be kind of evening out at the very last episode, the very end of the very last episode of season 5, and also into season 6. And then Abraham randomly started really getting, I guess you could say, down. It seemed like he was dwelling on his past or whatever, and something was really affecting him in the beginning of this season with drinking a lot and just doing, I guess you could say, just not caring what he did, just going to kill as many walkers as he could. It seems like Sasha, after coming back, has now helped Abe come back. And it definitely seems like, once again, I feel like even though I'm not one for relationships on the show, I'm not one that has to ship everybody with everybody. And usually I don't know why, but I'm always the one that's like, hey, it looks like they're shipping somebody else. They're going for a relationship with these two people. And it definitely seemed like Sasha and Abraham they were hinting at a relationship forming between these two. Which would be way different from the comics, but once again, not necessarily a bad thing. It could be interesting. I really don't want it to happen, because regardless of what happens to Abe in the comics. Sasha's not even in the comics, but love doesn't end well in The Walking Dead. So if their chances were slim that they were going to survive already, if they start to fall for each other, their chances are even lower. Love never lasts really well on The Walking Dead. Till Death Do Us Part is always very close when you fall in love on The Walking Dead. Now that brings us to the ending. Sasha and now Abraham have a rocket launcher, which I, for the life of me, can't see where they would need that anytime soon. But I think it's going to be pretty epic when it's finally used, like the grenade with Carol in Season 1. Sasha and Abe reunite with Darrell, and they get in this truck that they found, Patty, which is what apparently Dwight was looking for. Well, he got Norman or Darrell's bike, and Darrell got Patty that he was looking for. So in the end, I guess it's a trade. But they were driving, and the walkie-talkie went off, and it was a voice saying hello. And the internet has been blowing up about who exactly was talking. Now, if you ask me, I don't really know who it is. I have a couple of thoughts on who it could be. Everybody's assuming Glenn. Now, I don't think it's Glenn. It doesn't really sound like Glenn, but there's people who are thinking that it could be Sam, which could be possible. They're thinking maybe this was actually a time jump forward, as opposed to all these past episodes taking place along the same times as either during or right after the wolves attack. They're thinking it could be something going down at Alexandria, and Sam was able to get a hold of a walkie and is calling for help. Some people think it's Jesus, because we know that character is going to be introduced. And there was a couple of, it seemed, hints or references to at least the iconography of Jesus in this episode, especially in the very beginning, with Norman Darrell laying on the ground after falling off the bike near the walker with the helmet, and his arms are outstretched, and it pans out, and it's almost like in a crucifixion pose. And then also his hand was bloody. The blood drops from his hand. It seemed like references if you really dig deep, which when I dig deep, it's usually completely wrong. So that could be the case too. But some people are thinking it's Jesus. Some people are thinking it's yet another person we haven't seen. And some people are even thinking it's Dwight again. And I really don't know. I've been bandying about who it could be. I don't think it's Rick. I don't think it's Glenn. Now, do I think we're going to find out about Glenn next episode? Absolutely. Because at this point, there's really not much left to cover. I mean, everybody will be at Alexandria in the next episode. So what else is there to do? I mean, there could be something happening. It looks like Rick's talking to Morgan, and everybody's going to be caught up on what's been happening and what's going on, to quote a episode from last season. But I feel like Glenn is going to finally be revealed as either dead or alive, which I think he's alive. But depending on the arrival of Negan and the finale of Season 6, maybe not for much longer, unless, of course, hopefully, The Walking Dead changes that. For such, in my opinion, a less impactful currently episode, when I posted this to Facebook, my message feed was blown up by people actually responding. So we've got a lot of great listener feedback this week, which is always a good thing. Now, these are what other fans and listeners thought of the episode. First off, Becca Powell, who's my buddy, and we share quite a few of the same ideas. She thought that it was too much Darrell, which once again I do agree, but she did say there was a good amount of Abraham and Sasha, which Was, but honestly, I really felt like there should have been more Abraham and Sasha because I was really digging everything that was going on with them in this episode. Samantha Lynn Jackson said that one can never have too much Darrell, which I disagree with. She also said that, was it just her, or did it sound like Glenn saying help at the end? And like I was saying, I don't think it is Glenn. There's a lot of people on here that were commenting that thinks it was Glenn. Otressa Lee says that sounded like Glenn on the radio. Christina Chavez says, frankly, it was. Beth Vanderbilt says the Abraham and Sasha thing made my jaw hit the floor. Wow. And I will agree too. If that's what they're going to go with, I think it's a great idea. I'm all for it. Melissa Ogle says she thinks the voice at the end of the walkie-talkie is Glenn. And Elizabeth Sproul added, any true fan could tell that was Glenn's voice. It sounded exactly like him. Well, I commented under her saying, well, spoilers, it's actually me. But yeah, it's really not, if only. Samantha Lynn Jackson re-added that she will say this, Darrell needs a darn shower. And Rachel Pinion, who I used to work with a long time ago, says Glenn is alive in all caps and a couple of extra V's and 4 E's. And she says, and get it, Abraham. Rick Ward asked, was that Negan's gang? Even though it looks like there was a typo. It says Megan's. But yeah, I think he meant, was that Negan's gang? And I don't know. I'm thinking it was, or somebody associated with Negan, but in the end, right now it doesn't seem like much, but I have a feeling by the end of this season, we will know for sure, and this episode will be a lot more impactful than it is currently. Sarah Jewel Flaherty says, Darrell is in desperate need of a haircut, I will say that, and it was Glenn on the walkie because Glenn is alive. Mava Dixon says, Darrell got too much screen time. That sucked. And I do echo that sentiment. Jody Stoltz also thinks it was Glenn at the end. And Natasha says, it wasn't Glenn and it's not Rick. Saviors. Dwight made a boo-boo. Very condensed version of my thoughts. Which, very condensed version of my response is, yes, I agree. Awesome. And yes. Kathy Houston says, I really, really love the fact that Darrell got so much screen time. He is an awesome actor, but it was half Abraham, Sasha, and half Darrell, so it's not like he stole the show. I thought it was awesome that he went back to give the insulin. In the troubled world they are living in, he still has a heart. I love the way that his character has developed. I'm glad he's developed. I'm not going to say that. For everybody who thinks I'm just a Darrell hater just to hate because he's one of the biggest characters on the show, I don't. I think it was natural, and it was a good way to progress his character from the, I guess you could say, almost racist redneck like Merle in season 1 to where he's more considerate and he has feelings. I'm fine with them making him more human, but my problem with Darrell was they seemed to just use the plot device of Darrell crying too much to try to get the audience to feel what they want them to feel. Because, once again, I've said this on a previous podcast, in episode, I believe it was 13 or 14, it was one of the last ones of season 3, when Merle died and Darrell cried, the world cried. It was shocking. Everybody was heartbroken by that scene. But then, especially this last season, Darrell cried like 3 or 4 times, and it just got way overdone. Sharon Reed, who's my buddy from Walker Shocker Con, says, it was about time Darrell had some screen time. You haven't seen him hardly at all this season. Same for Abraham and Sasha. Shannon Fletcher says, genius. Season 6 has been absolutely genius. At this point, I did ask another question. I says, do you think we'll see the guy and girl who stole Darrell's bike again? Obviously, assuming that it's Dwight. Natasha says, yes. Shannon Fletcher says, oh yeah, they made a fatal mistake. They will probably be walkers when we see them, but Darrell will get his bike back. And Christine Wooten also thought that the person on the walkie-talkie, that cry for help, was indeed Glenn. Like I'm predicting right now, we will find out, I'm assuming within the next 7 days, 6 I guess now, we'll find out this Sunday if it indeed was Glenn. We may not find out see him call for help if it is him, but I have a feeling we will find out whether or not he's alive, whether or not they reveal if he was the actual one on the walkie-talkie. Well, that is going to do it for the Walking Dead wrap-up. Next is Sean Clark. Now, I talk a little bit in the interview about what Sean does, but Sean's an absolute great person, and he's a very busy man. We had this set up a month prior to actually doing it in Walker-Shocker-Con. He's always traveling, as you can imagine. I mean, he's got over 100 clients, and it's, clients like Norman Reedus, John Bernthal, Sarah Wayne Callies, big names, and he's also got other clients, which you'll talk about in the interview. I hope you enjoy. Hey everybody, welcome back to Creech Questions. I am here with Sean Clark.
Hello, how you doing today?
Pretty good. How about you? How's the con? I know it's the first day, but how's it going so far?
Well, so far so good. Today's a lot mellower than Saturday and Sunday. The big guns come out Saturday and Sunday. That's when I'm going to be really busy. But today, it's busy, but I'm at least free to roam today. So.
All right. Speaking of busy, with Convention All-Stars, you have hundreds of clients, especially, it seems like majorly focused in the horror industry. How is it trying to keep up with all the actors and getting them to all the other conventions? Is it really hard? Is it hectic? How does that go?
Yes. It is hard. It's hectic. Fortunately, I have good people that work with me and I trust to do the shows that I can't be at. But yeah, sometimes it can be a little nuts to coordinate, especially, there's been weekends I've had 5 shows going on in the same weekend. And then I'm getting texts from all over the world like, oh, blah, blah, blah is happening. And, I have to put out fires from across the country, stuff like that. But hey, it's a good problem to have. I'm not complaining.
Oh yeah, it's always good to be busy.
Yeah.
And speaking of Convention All-Stars, what made you decide to get into the convention management and booking agency?
Totally by accident. Basically, I had been a fan of conventions and going to conventions since like late 80s, 88, 89. And I'd become friends with a lot of celebrities, and I'd become a journalist. And I put on a convention in 2003, the Halloween 25th anniversary convention. It was called Halloween Returns to Haddonfield. And through doing that and doing the 25 Years of Terror documentary, I just made all these connections. And I forgot at some point one of the celebrities hit me up about, hey, that promoter, can you get me in there? I did. And then he hit me up again to get him in another one. And I started thinking, is there something I could be doing here? Like, is there a job here? And quite frankly, I only did it because I found out that if I was their agent, that the show would fly me in and put me up, and I'd get to go to the convention for free. And I'm like, Jesus, man, I've been flying myself in. I've been paying for tickets. I've been paying for hotels. I was like, this is a dream come true. I wasn't doing it to make money. It was like getting into conventions for free. I'm in, count me in. And then it just grew, word of mouth, referrals. Next thing I knew, I had, like I said, I'd just done the Halloween documentary, so I started calling all the Halloween people and saying, hey, you want to do this? So literally my original lineup was all Halloween people. And that's kind of how it just snowballed, man. Did I think it was going to turn into this? No.
All right. And speaking of, if you haven't checked it out, Halloween 25 Years of Terror is absolutely fantastic. You also do Horror's Hallowed Grounds.
Everybody screws that up. It's Horror's Hallowed Grounds. It's like a tongue twister. I don't know. Everybody messes it up. It's okay. You're not the first. You won't be the last.
Yes, it is. It is definitely a tongue twister. And what made you decide to do the show? And is there any locations that you really want to do that you haven't had a chance to yet?
Horror's Hallowed Grounds was also something that started just as a hobby. I started going to filming locations for fun. And when I became a journalist, the website I was working for was looking for content, like something we could do as a feature. And I said, well, there's this thing I do where I go to locations and I could do it as an article with comparison photos. And they loved it, and we started doing it online. And then that caught on with the guys from Horror Hound. I met Nathan Hanneman at I don't remember what year it was. Maybe it was like 2005 or something. It was at San Diego Comic-Con. He recognized me, and he said, "Hey, you do that Horrors Hollow Grounds thing?" And yeah, and he goes, "Well, I do this magazine," and he handed me, it was like issue 3, and he said, "Would you be interested in doing it as an article in the magazine?" I go, "Fuck yeah, let's do it." So that's how that started. And as far as a show, I was working on Halloween 25 Years of Terror, and Malika Cod asked me if I had any ideas for more bonus content. And I said, well, there's this thing I do as an article that's pretty popular. I've been thinking of doing it as a show. And he liked the idea. And I'd already at that point cut together like a teaser trailer like thing. And he said, this is great. Yeah, do it. So that's how that started, and it's just snowballed as well,
And you've been to places from The Fog and Nightmare on Elm Street and Halloween. Is there any other horror classics that you want to check out the locations that you haven't been to yet?
Yeah, I'm never going to be done. Let's see. I'm trying to think if there's any like bucket list locations. I mean, there's a few things from films that I've done that I haven't one of my all-time favorites was Clockwork Orange. I did as a written article in Horror Hound, but I never found the house where the writer lived, which was 2 different locations. There was an exterior, one location, and the interior was another location. And they're real locations, so they exist, not sets. And I would love to go to to actually get in there someday. Man, there's so many. I mean, I still, and there's like easy ones that tons of fans have been to, like the mine that was used in Day of the Dead, George Romero's Day of the Dead. I've never been there. I mean, I want to. I was just in Pittsburgh shooting a Creep Show episode, and we just ran out of time. We didn't have time to go to it. I was going to go. Maybe next time.
All right, and being that we are at Walker Stalker Con and it has an emphasis on The Walking Dead, you are Norman Reedus' convention manager.
Yeah.
I'm sure many fans have already asked, is there any talks of doing a Walking Dead Horrors Hallowed Grounds?
It's tough to do a TV series because there's just so many locations. You know what I mean? I mean, can you imagine trying to do every location from The Walking Dead? And plus the fans, the location thing is caught on big time, and fans are doing them while they're being filmed. You know what I mean? It's like they do tours out here in Georgia, so I think I'll leave that one to them, but yeah, there's lots of stuff I want to do, but Walking Dead, I think it's well covered.
Okay. All right, and you are also a avid vinyl collector. Is there any vinyls that you've bought that you just haven't loved? Is there any that you don't like that maybe you bought?
Records I bought I don't like?
Yes. Maybe you went on a whim and bought it because maybe...
Oh, yeah. I mean, it happens. You're always going to get a stinker once in a while. I can't really... Oh, okay, I don't want to put down somebody's band or something. Well, I'll tell you one that I was a little disappointed with. I can't even remember what the name is. It's a band that did an album that is completely inspired by Scanners, and it has Scanners, the poster artwork on the front, like a different rendition of it. Do you know the one I'm talking about? I can't remember the name of the band, but I got it home and I put it on, and it was just so boring. I was just like, man, I wanted this to be something that it wasn't, but it was a blind buy,
All right, for our last question, we have a fan here. You had some interactions with her last weekend, and this is Samantha Bowman.
Yes, Samantha was nice enough to buy me an awesome Ghost record that I love. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And she has a couple questions, so whenever you're ready, just ask away.
Go.
If they made a movie about your life, what would it be about, and which actor would play you?
God. I don't know. What would it be about? That's tough. I mean, I think if you want to get into what people would be interested in, I guess it would be sort of the behind the scenes of what I do in this world. Because, let's face it, I'm not that interesting. The celebrities I work with are probably the ones people are interested in. So maybe that's what it would be about. But as far as who would play me, Norman Reedus. I want to make him be me for a change. No, I don't know. I don't know who It would have to be somebody stunning, like Brad Pitt or Johnny Depp. I mean, otherwise nobody would believe it.
So true. Okay, and I have one other question.
Yes.
So you collect a lot of stuff from horror movies.
Mm-hmm.
What is like the ultimate horror memorabilia item that you would want to add to your collection?
Oh, God. Well, as far as what I'd want to add, it would have to be props. I'm a big movie prop guy. So the ultimate prop, man, that's tough. I don't even know. There's so many things out there I want. I mean, my ultimate prized possession, prop-wise, is I have one of the clowns from Poltergeist. But as far as, I don't know. I mean, that's a tough one. I don't know. I'm a huge Clockwork Orange fan, so something Clockwork Orange would be rad, like maybe the big white dildo thing that bobs up and down that he chases that woman around with. How cool would it be to own that, the actual one, you know what I mean? I know a guy who, actually a friend of Norman's, has one. Like, it's a replica that I think the person that made him for the film did a limited run of, and I was jealous when I saw that in his house. One of those, something like that, I don't know. It's kind of odd, the thing I want is a giant penis. That's kind of weird.
We're not judging.
Yeah, don't judge me.
No judgments here.
Yeah.
And lastly, if you want to promote any upcoming projects and your social media channels.
Okay. Well, real quick, back to that. I changed my mind. It would have to be the screen-used Alex's cane that opened up and had the knife. That I'd want that more than the wiener. As far as my social media, I'm pretty much at Malfunction on everything, which is the word malfunction, except for replace TION with SEAN, Malfunction. That's at Twitter, Instagram. My personal Facebook is full, but there's a Sean Clark official Facebook. I don't really do that. I joined the Periscope thing, and I did it a couple times. I didn't dig it, so I'm really not doing it. I may break it out once in a while, but that's kind of all I got. Yeah.
All right. Well, I do
HorrorsHallowedGrounds.com, which kind of just goes to the Horrors Hallowed Grounds Facebook page. But that's it. That's it for now.
All right, and we wait to see what is next in your career and some future episodes of Horrors Hallowed Grounds, of course.
Creep Show coming, and working on another one I can't say right now because they haven't announced it. And I asked them if I could announce it 2 nights ago at the Prince of Darkness screening we did at the church from the film, and Scream Factory wouldn't let me. But fans will be excited, I think.
All right, well, thank you again for joining us.
Thank you, and thank you. And thank you.
Welcome back, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that interview as much as I did actually doing the interview. I did post some outtakes on my personal Facebook page if you want to check it out. We did film this at Walker Stalker Con, and there was a hilarious scene right as we were doing the fan interaction, the live fan question with Samantha. Just somebody walks right through the shot. We were filming, and they just walked straight through, don't stop or nothing. It's pretty hilarious looking back on it now. We were all a little annoyed when it happened, but all's well that ends well. It was a great interview, and now we have some funny outtake footage for you to watch. Now, if you want to watch this interview, it is also available on YouTube. I haven't really been promoting that as much, but all of these interviews that we post on this podcast that are not done over the phone are available to watch. And they are all available on the Creech Creative YouTube. So make sure you definitely check that out. Make sure you follow us on Instagram and Tumblr at Creech Creative, on Twitter at CJCNOV88, Facebook.com/Creech Creative Productions, and CreechCreativeProductions.com, which is a little bit behind. I need to start working on that. Also, just want to give you a heads up, our wrestling documentary on wrestler Kevin Phoenix should be coming out around Christmas time. We are about to get into deep post-production on that. We've already shot everything. It's going to be a really great documentary that you'll want to hit Kevin up to find out more about. Also, with our Heroes on Hand, we're going to be traveling more very soon, so hopefully I'll be seeing more of you at conventions everywhere, and moderating panels, and doing whatever else I can do, and doing interviews. It's gonna be a great time. I should have some dates and conventions to list very soon, actually. And honestly, that's really gonna do it for Creech Questions this week. Next week, once again, is James Frazier. It's going to be on a Tuesday. We're going to have the Walking Dead wrap-up with Alyssa, myself, and Jordan Woods Robinson. Also, I will go ahead and announce right now, we're going to do the weekend after that. Also, the week after that, we've got an episode with some of our past guests of the Creech Questions favorites, where we re-talk and catch up with Lincoln Castellanos, Tobias from Fear the Walking Dead, and one of the greatest guys I've gotten the pleasure to know, a great friend, and Eric Jensen, who is Dr. Edwards on The Walking Dead and has so many more amazing things in the works right now that we're going to talk about in this interview. And that will be the last one before we go to Walker Stalker Con, New York, New Jersey. So look forward to those 2 episodes, and we'll see you next week on Creech Questions.
Hey y'all, this is Lou Temple, Rick Nicotero,
Patty Miller,
T-Love,
Eric Jensen,
Emma Bell,
Bing Chen, Vincent M. Ward, Jeff Cobra, Jose Pablo Cantillo, Danny Robot, Lawrence Gilliard Jr., Nestor Carbonell, Harold Parano, Daniel Thomas May, Alan Moss,
Sarah Wayne Callies,
Chad L. Coleman,
I'm RJ May from Breaking Bad, Bates Gonzalez,
AMC's Comic Book Man,
The Walking Dead, and you're listening to Creech Questions.
You better listen up good or I'm gonna get you.
Hey everyone out there, this is CJ Creech, and you too can listen to our celebrity interviews on our podcast, Creech Questions. Check us out on CreechCreatorProductions.com and Facebook.com/CreechCreatorProductions.